Hello, and welcome to the Notary Business Talk, the podcast dedicated to sharing ideas, strategies, and techniques to help grow your business and improve your life. And now, with more than 2 decades of notary business experience, your host, Abraham Zamora, the notary entrepreneur.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Notary Business Talk. My name is Abraham Zamora, and I am the Notary Entrepreneur. And in this episode, we are going to discuss how to maximize your end of year efforts and talk about, first of all, why it's important and how preparing now for the end of the year will catapult you into an amazing 2023. And so we're going to go ahead and get into that. But before we get started, I got a few housekeeping, a few updates that I want to kind of cover with you guys. I'll just say the last few episodes, and I'll talk about these in a minute, have been very, very successful. And I've heard from so many of you, and in fact, as a result of all this great feedback and interaction that I've been getting from a lot of you who listen to the show, it's what's resulted in this particular show. But I'll get into that in a minute. What I want to talk about is this new thing that I'm going to start now, where I'm going to give you, the audience, an opportunity to communicate directly with me and ask questions, give me feedbacks. I might ask questions because, you know what, I learn a lot from you guys, and I might throw a question out there that I might want to get an answer for. And so I'm dedicating and creating a special email just for you guys to reach out to me. That email is going to be contact@notaryentrepreneur.com. And the purpose of this email is to hear from you guys. And I will do my best to answer every single question within 24 hours if I possibly can, but I will answer all of your emails at some point for sure. And some of you guys may be mentioned on the show, and depending on how good your questions are or your feedback, some of you might even be invited onto the show. Now, how exciting would that be? Now, I know some of you might be a little shy, and I'll definitely just invite you. But for those of you who are willing and able, that might be an opportunity. So please reach out. Please reach out with questions. We would like to know what kind of things you guys are struggling with, what kind of successes you guys are having. I would love to kind of create more of a community around this podcast, given that so many of you have been willing to take your time and reach out to me. So that's new. Again, contact@notaryentrepreneur.com. The other thing we're going to be doing, and my team and I, is we're going to revamp our website to make it more of a resource-rich place for you guys to go and get information, particularly if you're a new notary. I really want to kind of start tailoring the information that we're providing here to help you build a more solid foundation. So look for that in the future. I would say within the next 30 to 60 days, you will start seeing changes on notaryentrepreneur.com. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into the show. As you who are our regular listeners may have already gotten to know, Mr. Ronnie Mickle is on the show again. He's going to help us with this segment of our podcast. And recently, we did a 3-part sort of mini series that was very, very successful. A lot of you guys commented on that episode. And as a result, Ronnie and I have decided that we are going to do a monthly segment, a minimum monthly segment where we discuss a lot of the stuff that he's putting out in his own within his own community, in his own blogs at notarystars.com. I've been noticing that in the last 2-3 months, the kind of stuff that he has been putting out there, I mean, it's the kind of stuff that you should probably pay for. And so the whole reason we even did that 3-part series is because I reached out to him and said, "Hey, this stuff this blog stuff that you're putting out there is just incredible. Can I use it on the show?" And he said, "I'll do you one better. I'll be on the show." And now here we are. And as a result, we're going to be doing a regular segment at least once a month. So stay tuned for that. This is what we're doing today. And so, hey, Ronnie, a great time to introduce you. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Abraham. I love being here. This is actually, the first 3-part series was kind of, we just decided to, throw it together and do it. But now this is something, now that we've got the topic's already planned out, you know, a little bit in advance. It's actually becoming like really like a part of my work month, so to speak, and I look forward to it. Actually, I look forward to this, you know, because at Notary Stars we train so many on the screen, and not that I don't like to do that, but it is nice to have a podcast segment where we plan what we're going to talk about, and it's just, you know, one-on-one conversation, so to speak, where we have the notaries in mind, but it makes it easier to focus on those topics. So I kind of look forward to this every month, and now I'm starting to understand what podcasts are really for.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, you know, it's such a perfect fit because first of all, you and I get along great. As most people may not know, Ronnie and I are actual business partners. So we work together and on different ventures. I'm one of his account reps for Notary Unlimited Inc., his signing service company. And so him and I get along really well. And I think you're right. I myself have come to really love the segments we have because I mean, it's just like we're having a conversation, you and I, if we were just kind of hanging out at one's house and just kind of just throwing ideas back and forth. But now everyone in our communities get to hear sort of the things that you and I discuss and are thinking about. And hopefully they seem to be benefiting. Have you been getting feedback from your audience through these shows as a result?
Absolutely. You know, the last three blogs that we've put out, I have to tell you, you know, these were already pre-planned in the year, but they just happened chance to really coincide with what's going on in the industry. And actually, from about four blog articles ago, I've received the biggest response ever because it's starting to hit home with the notaries. You know, 6 months ago, uh, we were being fed signings left and right. And I have been saying for, you know, a year and a half now, especially to the newer notaries, it's not always going to be this way. It's not always going to be this way.
Right.
And I've always held steadfast and being honest with the notary community about how to build their business, that it's not always raining signings. You know, my other business partner, Travis, who you know very well, he likes to explain it to notaries. It's either feast or famine in real estate. That goes for realtors, title agents, lenders, and notaries, notary signing agents. Now I feel like I have a larger audience of those who are now understanding what normal in this industry is. And it's a great opportunity for us to really represent how much we care about the notary community. And for some, it may have felt like they lost a lot of business all of a sudden. And I really fine-tuned those articles that were coming out, and we spoke about them. And you know, the podcast and the replays on YouTube have gone really well and gotten a lot of attention from it. And people were saying thank you so much, you know. And now I feel like we've kind of captivated this audience, and I want to get away from the scary part of the conversation and get right back into that conversation we've been having all along. Now that we caught all these that were so scared, like what's going to happen, we kind of put out these blogs, these YouTube videos, all of these things, and it kind of grouped these people together into saying, okay, we're okay. We're all in the same boat together. And now I feel like it's the perfect time, which was already a pre-planned topic for this month, to get right back on track.
Yeah, and the thing is, and I think you're right. A lot of the newer notaries who haven't gone through this maybe aren't it just it seems like right they've lost a lot of work, but it was a buffet of signings for the last 2.5 years. I mean, it was just you would turn them away because you were just so tired at the end of the day. You had done so many. But that was not normal. I mean, those are the unusual kind of pre-2008 type of times we had. And you and I, as people know, have collectively over 35 years of experience. So we know we're familiar, and it doesn't affect us as much because, you know, the first time or the second time it hurts really bad. But then you know it's coming, and so you prepare for it. And just like you, I've been telling notaries on my podcast to start saving their money, to have a nice emergency fund for when it does slow down. But you're right. Hey, look, it's happened. It's hit us. Those of you who are still here and are still excited, enthusiastic, I mean, we have the good news, right? Here's the good word, right? The good news is that it's not going to stay this way. We are going to recover as we always have in the past. You just got to be smart about it. You got to learn to work smart. And what better time to reassess and reevaluate your business and at the end of the year, right? So this is kind of what we're going to be talking about today. Is first of all, what should we be doing at the end of the year, and how can we do it in a way that we maximize our efforts so that, number one, we are in a position to get the most amount of work if that's what we're looking for, and even more importantly, how to prepare ourselves for the following year, because it, it's only going to get better from our experience. It will only be so bad for so long, and then it's going to improve, it's going to grow, it's going to be better. So let's go ahead and get started. So now I know we've talked about, so you have a few tips here. You have 5 tips that you put in your blog. By the way, for those of you who are interested in his and Ronnie's blog, man, you guys should take the link to his blog. It'll be in the show notes. You should like save it up on, save the link somehow and just check in regularly. I really, Ronnie, this is the kind of stuff you should be charging for, Ronnie. I'm just telling you right now, man. I mean, I love that you do. And here's what I like about you, Ronnie. I think this is why we get along so well, is you treat everyone like if they're already a customer, even if they haven't bought anything from you. I mean, you will go out of your way to help people. And I think this is what this blog really represents. And so for those of you, the show notes, there will be a link to his blog. But in that blog, if you want sort of the written version of this podcast, you'll find that there. But let's go into the steps. The first step you put on here is that September is a crucial time to update, and update. What do you mean by that, Ronnie?
Well, we are coming into what we know as the busiest time of the year, and that's going to be October, November, and December, perpetual, those 3 months. You may think that refis are gone, we're not going to see that much business, but it goes beyond the notary listing sites that I talked about being dead from the pandemic, those who have gone back to work. You need to make sure that you are really on point with all your listings. People know how to reach you, that you are still working, because you're going to need to grab every opportunity that you can to build a new relationship or salvage a former relationship as we have this boom that comes at the end of the year. You have to kind of look at it like this. People are trying to wrap up their fiscal year. So this is going to be about purchases and sales and home equity lines of credit, all these types of signings, whereas before we saw a lot of refinances. You may even see a lot of debt settlements coming out. And, I know sometimes we warn about working with certain debt settlement companies, but they are legitimate ways for notaries to make money. This is going to be the time while people are trying to wrap up their fiscal financial year at the end of the year for you to get in and make those relationships and solidify them, because the beginning of the year is going to get slower again. It comes in waves. And what you do at the end of the year is going to affect what you do at the beginning of the year. So it's really about September, update. We've been saying it since last month, but we really mean it. You're running out of time to get in there and get your listings updated. There's nothing more important right now in your year than to update. Now, even if you're working with direct clients, if you want to balance out and they're not as busy as you'd like them to be, still get those listings updated. I mean, everything you've ever signed up for, and if you're not signed up for it, get signed up for it, because this is going to be the time to develop some relationships.
Absolutely, yeah. And for those of you who missed that episode, that's episode 23, resumes, listing sites, and databases. Go through that episode where we really get into the nitty-gritty of the details on how to do that and kind of maximize your listings. And here's the thing that's happening, right? I mean, we have the reason end of the year is so important is because and he mentions it in this blog, but this is the time where some notaries take off, right? It's the holiday season. They're not as available as they usually are. A lot of notaries have dropped off because it's slowed down so much. And so this could potentially set you up to build sort of a relationship with maybe someone you haven't had an opportunity to work with, because maybe their normal notary is on vacation. And if you're willing to kind of be there for them when no one else is, it definitely could become an opportunity for you. So I think, but no one's going to know, no one's going to offer you work if they don't know where you're at. They can't find you. So updating your visibility is huge here. But all right, good. So number 2, it says, take time now to understand the big picture. Ronnie, what big picture are we talking about, bud?
So, one thing that I want to point out, and, this is a plug for Notary Stars, because I would like people to know that we don't just train on loan documents. We have training on everything, and we have a beautiful training video, which we're releasing from our library which is over 200 hours of training at this point. We stopped counting at 150 hours. This is a video that we did for our Notary Stars, and it's titled, what happens before your job becomes your job. And I think sometimes as notary signing agents, self-included, our universe kind of revolves around us. We're left out of the conversations of title and escrow. We're left out of the conversations with the lender, and we're left out of the conversations with the realtor. We show up at a table and we're supposed to get everything done, but you don't really understand what the signer is going through or how long that process goes. Sometimes the loan process can take up to 9 months, which means you could have grown an entire human being, if you're a female, inside your belly and given birth to that human being in the time it takes to make a loan come out. And the lender goes back through, Travis really talks about his experience with being a lender and what he had to go through to get them to the table. We have also other interviews with realtors and title offices that we've done. But what we do is give you a broad perspective overview of the life of a loan. Like when somebody says, I either want to refinance or I want to buy a home, what are they going to go through in order to get to the point to get a loan officer that's going to work with them, or a realtor gets them to a loan officer, then it has to get over to title, and then it has to get to your table. I think when you understand, that entire circle process of it going back, because after you do it, it goes back to title, then it goes back to the lender, and then the customer is happy. So it's really like a two-wheel process turn. And I think sometimes notaries kind of forget, like they think, why are my documents late? Well, that's answered in that video. Why doesn't title do these things? Why doesn't the lender do these things? It's all answered in that video. Now, we did monetize the video on our YouTube channel. Anything free on our YouTube channel is now monetized. So if you watch it, you will see ads on anything for free. Anything in our library that's for members only, since those members are paying for that, it's now not it's not monetized, but you can't find it on the YouTube channels. But we are releasing it with this article. I think it's a very important session. It will be out there for at least a good month following the release of this video and the release of the article, to share with the notary community, because of the outpouring of how important this information has been to notaries. I wanted to find a way to get, something from my library that might benefit them out there. So this is kind of like a loan to the notary community where, and believe me, monetizing a YouTube channel, you don't make that much, but it at least pays for advertising and things, or helps. But it's a loan, but I really want the notaries to take it seriously since it's out there and it's public, because there's not a lot of information out there coming from what are your clients going through. And I think when you understand what does your title office go through, what does your lender go through, what does a realtor go through, then you become a better notary signing agent, because really you're a vendor for all of them. And you really need to understand the entire loan process in order to be a really great loan signing agent. I think when you have that knowledge and it's not just about you and your business, it helps you make better connections in title and escrow, helps you make better connections with lenders, helps you make better connections with realtors, because then you have it in your mind what they're going through and what they need from you in order to make things happen. So that video is going to be attached to, to this YouTube replay. It'll be attached to your blog podcast. It'll be attached to the article on the blog section. I really want notaries to take a time. It's about a little over an hour segment. And I would love for them to take time to watch it so they can become better loan signing agents by understanding the entire, two-wheel circle there.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a great video. I highly recommend it. It's linked through that blog, so you guys can definitely check that out. The link will be in the show notes. And I want to add something to that. I mean, I don't think we've ever spoken about this, but I think the underlying reason we do this is because we're trying to elevate our industry. I think we're trying to connect with notaries who are really looking to take this career, this profession seriously. I think, unfortunately,
the long haul. I think we're looking for those who are in it for the long haul.
Exactly, long haul. Who think of this as an actual career, right? As a profession. I think, unfortunately, some notaries have kind of taken an attitude of this is a side gig, like driving Uber or walking dogs or something, and and I think, unfortunately, that doesn't it produces notaries that have a different attitude and a different a negative perspective. It almost becomes like as if signing companies and escrow officers are like the enemies that they have to fight, as opposed to realizing how much they actually have to go through. I think the video, what it will definitely do is change the perspective of the notary, and allow you guys to be more sympathetic to escrow and title officers, and what goes into what we do. And yeah, if documents are running a little late, I look, we're in business to make money, but in business, you still have to be a good business person, and quality customer service is probably the most important thing. And if you can understand and sympathize with these escrow officers and title offices, I think that will really help change your attitude and make you a better notary, better business person. And long term, you're going to succeed in this industry. So,
And Abraham, I do want to put in 2 cents on that if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
I want to be very careful with using terminology like those who consider it a side hustle. I personally don't. I teach notaries not to use that language with title and escrow, because I don't know many title and escrow officers or lenders who only do that for their job want to hear that they're hiring somebody to do something as a side hustle. It's a very professional career, and I love the angle of that. But I do want to say this is that if you are doing loan signing agent as a side hustle, you still have a place in this industry, but come let us teach you how to represent yourself within this industry so that you adequately service your clients the best, and then your side hustle will last for you a lot longer. I want to make sure that people know, as long as you're doing, you could be doing one file a week or one file a month if that's your prerogative, but as long as you do that properly, there is a place for you in this industry. Not everybody needs 6 figures, as we see on a lot of the YouTube commercials and all of those things, which are just, what do they call it? Affiliate marketing. They get on there, they say they make so much money. Let me show you how, click this link, and then I get money for that. Because that's what's really going on in the industry. We're being targeted by affiliate marketing. But there are a lot of people out there that are actually needing to just supplement some income. But they need to understand that they're fitting into a lot of people who are doing this as full-time career, with people who have full-time careers depending upon that. So making sure that you know what you're doing in the industry, no matter what level you're doing it at. It's okay to do it as a side hustle, as a part-time or full-time, I hope, because it is a beautiful career. But you want to protect the ability to do that, because a lot of times side hustles don't work out because you don't do them through and through. And that's what I want to make sure that we don't put out the wrong message that, hey, you're not welcome here if you're doing it as a side hustle. You're absolutely welcome. In fact, I'd love to be a part of that for you, but help you use the right terms for it and do it successfully.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, good point. And thank you for clearing that up. Yeah, I completely agree with what you just said. So
Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, those of you who are just listening to the podcast, I definitely encourage you guys to go on our YouTube channels. You can find mine under Notary Entrepreneur, and watch the video. We're actually going through the article in the video, so you get a chance to actually see the blog itself. And so I encourage you guys to do that, and you get to see what we look like if you haven't already seen our kissers. So there you go. All right. So number 3, what you do, how you perform at the end of the year affects your beginning of the year. And this is kind of what we were talking about kind of getting ready to catapult ourselves for this new year. But why is it so important to prepare now for next year, Ryan?
So the whole purpose of that point of the segment is what you do, how you perform at the end of the year is going to affect your beginning of the year. If you are not up to par with loan signings, if you are not where you should be as a full-time signing agent, even if you're doing it as a side hustle, you might really affect the beginning of the year. So it can take a while to mend a rocky relationship. And, I cannot stress enough that when a title or escrow officer hires you, they really need you to navigate a loan package. You should not be at the table, for 2.5 hours getting a signer through it. You're going to frustrate signers. You're going to frustrate title, because that's their review that you're giving them. And if you make too many mistakes, it's going to cause problems, and they're not going to want to use you at the slower part of the year. And that's when you really want them to use you, which is the beginning of next year when it's slower. So if you've taken training and you are up in your ante and you had a problem with a title and escrow officer, now's the time to really reach out to them, like probably at the end of September, if you haven't heard from them in a while, and say, hey, got your feedback. I'm really sorry that this has happened. This is what I've done to remedy that for you so that I don't make those mistakes. Whether it be I took a training course or I went through all of my mistakes for the previous year so that here at the end of the year, I will not make these mistakes. It's okay to say those things, and honestly, will be well received and appreciated. Anybody that doesn't appreciate it, you probably don't want to work with them anyway. I have notaries who reach out to me consistently at Unlimited Ink saying, hey, I don't get as many signings, and I think it was because of this, so I've done this. And I think, you know what, let's give them another chance, because at least they're conscious and they want to help us grow our business. I cannot imagine that a title agency or a lender would not feel the same way. We put in the article link, we updated it last year. This is also part of we have a free version of this, but we're putting the entire canon on the list of mistakes that notaries make that you probably want to avoid right at the end of the year, especially in that last 3-week period, because people are traveling. If you sign someone for a house that's outside of your state, and then they get on a plane and they fly to Canada to see their family, or they go to Florida for the weekend, or they are in New York and they decide to go to California, you can't chase those signers, and then it becomes more expensive to fix your problem. So we have the most common mistakes that notaries, notary loan signing agents make when they're conducting signings, and it's going to be linked. You'll have the link as well. It'll be linked. It'll be on our YouTube link, and we invite you to watch that as well, so that it can help you avoid any mistakes that you might be making at the end of the year. And then again, if you have made some mistakes, don't hesitate to reach out and say, hey, I've taken some training, or I've taken all of my mistakes in the last year into account, and I'd like to let you know that I've really analyzed this, and I want to come back and be the best loan signing agent. As we're coming up upon the end of the year, I want you to know I'm here for you, and I'll be waiting for that second chance. And don't be afraid. I will tell you, in the beginning, I had to have that conversation several times with a lot of different companies and a lot of different title agencies. And over the years, I've had to, reach out and say, this is how we're going to do things. This is how I learned at Unlimited Ink to listen to the complaint when a notary makes a mistake and let them know this is how we're going to fix it. So every complaint we've ever received, I say, I hear you. This is what we can do to fix it right now. This is what we can do to fix it long term. And I promise them that we will follow through with it. And then I make a follow-up of saying, this was implemented. Do you see a difference? And so this is my version of helping the notary community that may not be at signing agency level make that same promise to their customers.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of not only dealing with errors and mistakes, but overcoming that fear. I've had people who just reached out to me via email, and I'll tell you, I've literally picked up the phone and called a lot of these listeners who contact me, and I'll just have a conversation with them. And one particular conversation I had with this lady, she was asking me if she should start off as a notary getting looking for general notary work or doing loan signings. And she was afraid of doing loan signings because she was afraid of making mistakes, and she was wanting to become to do general notary work. And I talked to her and I said, listen, you're going to make mistakes. I mean, especially when you're starting. Yes, you can get as much training as you want and as you can handle, but until you actually go out there and do this, there are going to be times where you make mistakes. And I think the way you explain on how to handle mistakes, one, will hopefully eliminate some of the fear that people have that keeps them from getting started. Because yes, we do want you to be successful. We do want, this career has treated you and I very, very well. We've had a lot of people who have helped us along the way. And I think now, I mean, I know you love to teach. I love to teach. We do this, but also as a way of giving back to all those who helped us along the way. So we don't want you to be stopped by fear. If you have fear, this is, and the other thing that you just mentioned, which is beautiful, is a lot of people will deny their mistakes or they'll fight people on them. And no, I think the best thing you can do is own up to it, say you'll do what you can to fix it. And I think that is the best approach. So well said, Ronnie. Okay, so tip number 4, it says title must close out books, and so do you. What does that mean, Ronnie?
Now, this is up for a little bit later in the year, but I wanted to get the notaries' brains turning on it. So Title has to close out their books at the end of the year, which means come January, you have to get paid and then you have to get your W-9. So one thing that we're going to be doing, we have an episode called Notary Stars Unlimited each month, which we're going to have this same conversation, but with the notaries. Later on in the month, it's September 21st is our next one, 5 p.m. Eastern Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's not this episode. That's going to be what we're talking about right now, elongated with the notaries there to ask their questions. The next conversation, though, is October, and we have Notary Assist coming in, who's going to be helping guide us through how to make sure that our end of year is closed out properly. And they're bringing in an actual tax accountant to that session. And this is going to be absolutely free for the notary community. They're going to be bringing in an actual tax accountant who specifically works with notaries so that they can ask questions on how to close out their books and all of those types of things. So we're really doing whatever we can. And that's what these sessions are set up for. Where are you in your notary business at this time of the year? Where should you be? What should you be thinking about? Because, you know, it's also a little hard as a notary to know everything, right? We learn how to do the loan documents. We're always struggling to find business. We're always chasing after the orders, but we still have to run the business side of it, right? And I think sometimes we can forget those things. So I want notaries to start thinking now in September and getting planned. And I'd like to invite everybody listening, anybody watching the YouTube replay, make sure you are signed up for Notary Stars Unlimited. You will be notified before the session. It'll be in October. I don't know the exact date, but you can go to Notary Stars Unlimited, notarystars.com/unlimited to check the titles. And it's going to be our October session. It'll be around mid-October. And you'll be able to, talk to an actual accountant that deals specifically with notaries, as well as the accounting software for notaries, Notary Assist, which I'm so happy to have them on as well, because they've been a great friend to the notary community as long as I've known them. So it'll be, that's one of the topics for end of year planning, is getting ready to do that. And end of year planning doesn't just stop in September. You plan a little bit in October, and there are things that we'll talk about in December as well.
Awesome. Okay, so September 21st, notarystars.com/unlimited, and we're essentially going to be talking about what we're discussing today, but in depth. And we're going to give people an opportunity to be involved in the conversation, sort of like a group coaching type of thing. I mean, shoot, I can't see why I can't join you guys either. So I'll probably be there as well. So if you guys want to meet me as well and live and in person, then definitely invite you guys to join us there. So yeah, that's great. And yeah, you're right. We should be thinking about that now. So that's good stuff. And then number 5, you have to start preparing for next year. So let's kind of wrapping it up here. How do we close this out with this last tip here, Ronnie?
So we're going to be talking about this in December as well. First of all, I think one of the things that notaries think, so it's either one or two mentalities, okay? There's either the notary that's like, bam, I'm going to take every order to the end of the year and I'm going to work through Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I love those kind of notaries because I'm that kind of notary. And then there's the notaries who are like, you know what? I'm going to take 16 days off during Christmas to spend with my family. It's probably not going to be busy anyway. And I'm actually jealous of those notaries. Okay. So no matter what boat you're in, I think both boats are just fine. Just depend, different strokes for different folks, right?
I feel like I'm becoming the second notary, by the way.
Well, we do actually close down Notary Stars for the last 2 weeks of the year. We always close it down, but the signing agency side is always open. But the teaching side and the blogs and it's just something I needed to do for the end of the year. So I won't have a holiday at all, and I barely have one, having a signing agency. But getting back to the topic for planning for the end of the year, even if you take time off, this is the best time for you to do some back office type of work for your notary business. Every year, I try to do a goal setting, starting off the first of the year with setting your goals. But really, you should be setting your goals in that last 2 weeks of the year. If you're off, start writing down your goals, manifesting what you want. If you plan, like, I'm going to walk into 2 title agencies or 3 title agencies each month, or 10, that's when you should start doing that. But it's not just planning for the next year about how much business you're going to get or how many companies you're going to sign up for. You also want to start looking at your W-9. This is the biggest one I see right at the beginning of the year. Notaries are like around March, they're like, I haven't been paid since January. What's going on? And it's because they don't update their W-9. And then there's always that notary that says, well, the IRS says I don't have to update it until blah, blah, blah. But let me tell you, if Fidelity National Title asks you to update your notary W-9, or you're not going to work with them and you're working direct with them, you will update it. And I see a lot of signing agencies, self-included, that where the notaries say, I don't have to do that. And I think, well, yes, you do, because it's in the contract. And most companies that you work with have a contract and they need you to update that W-9 each year. So I say just go through and update everyone. When you update one, update them all. That way you're not chasing payments, come February, March, and wondering why you're not being paid. And it's part of a contract. Now, a company like SnapDocs and Signing Order covers a lot of companies for you, right? You go in SnapDocs, you re-upload your W-9. You go into Signing Order, you re-upload your W-9. You're able to get that information, up to date. You want to make sure that you're just planning for anything that could get in your way. I see notaries often, their background check goes awry. You need to, first of the year, make sure, is my background check good? I would suggest notaries put those types of things on their calendar. Your notary's commission, we all know because of COVID, a lot of the Secretary of State's offices went on limited forces, and then they're like, hey, this works well. We don't have to go back to full force. And I see a lot of notaries right now. I have one right now. I love her to death. But she's doing DoorDash and lifting because her notary commission got kicked back, and now she has to reapply. You never know what's going to happen. Later last year, I was actually I reapplied here in Arizona, and I got kicked back, and I had done it 8 weeks in advance. And then it got kicked back, and I had to go through the entire process again. So I was out like, I don't know how many weeks, 16 weeks without a commission. If you're in California somewhere, God forbid, because it'll take forever. And so you want to plan and make sure that you're getting in there as soon as you can to update any certifications that you have, any W-9s that you have. If you've changed addresses, if you need payment information to go to a different place, make sure you get that updated. Use that last 2 weeks of the year if you're not out in the field. Now, if you are out in the field, don't forget those things. Don't forget that these things are going to be waiting on you at the beginning of the year or just shortly after the beginning of the year. So I'd like to make sure that people are thinking, because I think sometimes they think, end of year is not when I'm going to work. And I'm going to give you a little brief story, and then I'm going to stop talking about this. So everybody wants to know, when did I become successful? And, I just taught an entire SEO seminar, which is for sale on Notary Stars, the replay. Everybody loved it. It was actually the largest course I've ever sold. I couldn't believe how many people bought it and enjoyed it. And I've gotten lots of fan mail off of that as well. And I love that. And what all of that came from was right after I started my notary business, I worked for a company in LA, did a lot of business for them. And this is back when we actually took cash at the table and had to turn around and give it to the signing agency. So it was all from a local person, and it was all general notary work. I mean, sometimes they gave us signings, but we mostly work with direct title. But I collect sometimes $5,000-$6,000 and have to turn around and give 60% of that back to her. And that was when it would hurt, is when I had worked so hard for the month and I saw. So during that 2-week period, I actually sat down and learned how to do SEO for the first time. Now, it's evolved over the last decade, and I've kept up to date with it. And, one thing, if you know about Notary Stars or Unlimited Ink, if I want that page to come up in a zip code, it will. Or if I want it to come up for a local city search or a nationwide search, I've got that down. And it's really not that hard. But I used that 2-week period to enhance my career. And I really believe that's the moment when I became successful, because after I learned how to do those things with a website, I'll never forget the day when this company that was taking 60% from me called and said, Ronnie, we love you, but we're not going to work with you anymore because you're coming up in search engines better than we are, and we feel like we're losing business to you. And I thought, okay, okay, because I was already making the money and keeping the full fee. And, that's something you can do with your time at the end of the year. If you don't want to be out in the field, take that time to learn something that you didn't know before, like search engine optimization or anything that you feel that will enhance your notary career or your notary business.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things you and I share in common is that we're always constantly wanting to learn and grow. I know we were just talking earlier today, and you were telling me about this course you're taking, and I was like, "Oh, I'm taking another course too." And I personally attend your weekly marketing courses, and so I've literally seen Ronnie within a matter of minutes have a video that he creates and then show up on Google within like 5 minutes. I mean, live on TV. I mean, you can't. It's like a magician, right? I mean, you can't fake it if you're looking at it. Yeah. So good stuff.
Anybody can do it.
And anybody. By the way, the crazy thing is he just puts it out there. I mean, it's yeah, anybody can do it. I mean, it's as simple as clicking, typing in, and hitting submit. I mean, so don't be afraid. And yeah, there's always room to grow. And I think that one of the best opportunities right now, since it's been a little slow, it's time to resharpen that saw and focus on how you can grow your business. Business is one of the most beautiful things because you have full control over your income, how much money, how much time, flexibility you want to have. And so, yeah, I hope this conversation has helped a lot of people who maybe have felt a little maybe defeated by the last few months. It's not that bad. And you have a lot of opportunities to grow, to improve, to enhance. And you have a lot of people that are willing to help you out do that. So now let's talk about this Notary Symposium that you had. Is that the same thing from September 21st, Ronnie, or?
Well, on September 21st, the Notary Stars Unlimited episode, Laura B will be stopping by the episode, and at the end, giving us some more information. She started an annual event called Notary Symposium that she does. It's an online event, and it's got breakout rooms and all talking about ways to enhance your career at the end of the year. It's perfect timing for something like this. And she's going to be coming by to give us all the information on the Notary Symposium. You can also go to coachmelaura.com right now and learn more about it. We're going to have it linked to this article as well. There'll be a link to where you can go and register for the event if it's something that you want to do. It is a paid event, but I believe that the tickets are very, very affordable. And you'll be able to learn more about it on the 21st if you're a little skeptical. One thing that I love to do at Notary Stars, and I'm very proud of, is when we make partnerships with other companies and other trainers, we invite them on so you can get to know them and talk to them before you spend your hard-earned money on it. I am if you are a member of a Notary Stars, you know that my team and myself are very accessible. We don't just shove people into a Facebook group and charge them money to answer their own questions. We teach live daily. And I just feel like it's a part of our brand as the Notary Stars community to invite people in to tell us, what will you learn here? Why should you come? Instead of just, because I feel when a person takes back that available website, there's more of a communication there. There's more of a trust there. And I do know Laura Buer very well, but some of our attendees and some of your listeners may not know her as well. Although in California, I can't imagine that. But it's a good time for, if they have a question, if they want to ask something about it, it's a good time to have that person right then and there to ask that question and get the information. So very happy to have her coming on the next Notary Stars Unlimited session to give us that information.
Beautiful. Yeah, and this is what we're talking about. This is part of growing your business, growing your enhancing your skills. So definitely check that out. It'll be on the blog at LinkedIn. It'll also be on the show notes for those of you who want to check it out. And again, just to recap, for those of you who want to reach out to me, you can now reach out to me at contact@notaryentrepreneur.com. Ask your questions, give your feedback. All your questions will be answered. In some cases, I might even just pick up the phone and call you directly. In some cases, you might be invited to the show and be a participant on the podcast. So I think that would be very exciting as well. Mark your calendars for September 21st, where Ronnie's going to enhance and going to go a step further on the things we're talking about today. It's a free event. It'll be live for those of you who can attend and interact with Ronnie, and assuming my schedule's free, myself as well. And I think that's it, right, Ronnie? Is there anything else I'm forgetting here, or have we covered it all here?
I think we've covered it all. And, I just want to say thank you for having me on yet again. I think this has become a really great, dynamic. And I actually would love to see over time this grow into more personalities on talking. Maybe we can find more people that would like to join this, this kind of episode where we talk about important topics each month. These things don't cost money for the notaries to listen to, and that's what I love about this. There's so much. I mean, I know we charge at Notary Stars to train notaries, and we hold their hand for the first few years of their career so that they can get off to the right start, and it's a beautiful experience. But we only charge very, very little for it. And I feel like what you're doing with this podcast, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. So I just appreciate being here. And, it is a different experience for me, to come in and have this one-on-one conversation. But I was also thinking while we were doing this today, would be nice to have another, personality in here sometimes where we talk, and I would love to see it from, more people like us in the industry having these conversations, getting as much as we can out to the notaries at one time without getting too confusing. But would be nice to see more on here. So let's put that out there, that maybe there's another beautiful soul out there that really wants to help and come on and be a part of it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I do plan on having other guests on the show talking about different topics like apostille and some other people that I have ready lined up. But yeah, if you guys have someone you'd like to be on the show, someone you'd like to hear from, send me an email. Let's hear what you guys have, what suggestions you guys have, and definitely grow this into more of a robust and a community that we can all benefit from. So thank you for that. Yes, I think that should be the direction we should head in. So, but Ronnie, you're here, and I appreciate you. I think our listeners appreciate you. And so, as usual, we appreciate you being on the show. And like I told everybody, we're going to be doing this sort of on a regular monthly basis. So stay tuned for the next a podcast where we have Ronnie on the show. But until next time, I hope you guys had a wonderful time listening to this episode. And until next time, make sure you stay productive and safe out there, guys. Take care. Bye now.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Notary Business Talk. To learn more about becoming a notary entrepreneur or to find out how Abraham can help you achieve your business goals, visit notarybusinesstalk.com.